Well, good afternoon all. I have my feet crossed. I am comfortably relaxed in the sun, and it's been a Saturday of football, so all is well. We didn't quite see any goals though here at Deepdale, where it finished Preston 0, Norwich City 0. That, of course, a much more bitter pill for Preston to swallow than for Norwich. Preston going desperate for the win that would really keep them in top 6 contention. They didn't get it, and I'm sure some people at Norwich City Football Club will feel a degree of satisfaction that they have halted Alec Neil's chance of recreating his playoff joys at Norwich here at Deepdale. And I think over the course of a reasonably even 90 minutes and a game pretty short on quality, very similar to the game at Carrow Road, I thought earlier in the season, both sides willing and probably not that able, really, certainly in terms of use of the ball and quality and possession. When you think of both sides trying and believing they were capable of doing a degree with the ball, it just wasn't really there. Norwich didn't get a shot on target all game, although they did have a couple of half decent moments where they could have capitalised. Preston did have better chances. Angus Gunn had to make the odd save. They rattled the bar once from Paul Gallagher, who once again he does seem to make things happen against Norwich, and he's a good player even though he's getting on a bit. But I think what I would take away from that in terms of Preston, and we'll reflect on them first, is that, you know, Alec Neil's done a great job in terms of getting the most out of that side, because to me, I don't really think they're good enough to be in the top 6. So, you know, he's got a good physical side and he's built really well off Simon Grayson's platform. It'll be really interesting what happens here next year, whether they can build on it and go again, or whether there's a bit more work to do and it's a bit more of a struggle. Because at that point, I would guess Alec will want to take things more in his own light. But no taking away from the fact that his side are so close to the top 6, because, you know, they've probably punched above their weight in terms of the quality they've got. They are tight and they are strong, but it's going to take a little bit more to get them really over the finishing line in terms of what he would clearly love to achieve here. As for Norwich, this is going to be really interesting because, I mean, you know, having done the live coverage at PinkUn.com, I know a lot of people are negative towards it, and there are a lot of issues. I can pick a lot of holes in today, but I think the first point to say is it's the end of the season. Norwich have got nothing to play for apart from their own pride. You know, some players may be thinking about their futures, even though they're not saying that they're thinking about their futures. I've seen Norwich roll over in these situations plenty of times, especially against a side with, you know, a lot to play for. And they didn't. They dug in. Norwich, you know, stood up to it most of the times and, you know, gave away silly fouls. But, you know, they showed they were competing and they showed they cared, actually. And for 600-700 odd Norwich fans that made the trip here, I think they'll probably take that. I know it was short in a lot of areas, and let's be clear, they were too open in the first half. They gave away too many chances, and against a better side, certainly one maybe a bit more confident in where they were and not feeling quite as desperate. I got the impression Preston maybe snatched at a few things today, but Norwich were too open at the back for certainly spells in the first half, but also the difficulty Norwich attack, and, you know, it's not a new theme, but, you know, Dennis Shrabini had a good chance today to show what he's got, and what I kind of felt was that his movement isn't good enough. That's sort of the thing I noticed today. We need much more better movement from him to help create spaces and create opportunities, because what that was today wasn't good enough in that department. Didn't really happen for Josh. I know Hernandez came on, had a good chance but overran it, but again, that directness from him, I would still look forward to seeing him and Josh playing in a front three together. James Maddison didn't have one of his better afternoons, and as has been the case most times this season, if James Maddison isn't quite firing, Norwich find it hard. Norwich have relied on him numerous occasions, especially away from home, to dig them out of a hole. Morris Leitner gave the ball away a few times, and, you know, he's obviously feeling his way back in after his injury layoff, so maybe we'll give him a bit of time in that. But they are different players, him and Maddison, and I wouldn't necessarily be entirely comfortable that it would be Leitner getting the chance to step up. I know I kind of wrote that it would be a few days ago, but I don't see the goal threat in Morris, even though maybe his use of the ball doesn't revolve around getting it back as quickly as with James Maddison. So it's an interesting dynamic. Harrison Reed got the nod ahead of Ivo Pinto, and as I said, Dennis Shrabini got the nod ahead of Nelson Oliveira. So that's two Portuguese players on very large wages, both fit, neither featuring. I find that very interesting. Both are still contracted beyond this season, but I do wonder if there's a contemplation in Daniel Farke, who was quite happy with the pride and effort and commitment that his side showed today. I just wonder if he's thinking that next season he might be better off without them both. Depends who comes in for him, what they'd get, etc., etc. But I just wonder. And I have to be honest, Harrison Reed, great player, great versatility. I would definitely have him around the place this next season. I don't personally believe he's a better right back than Ivo Pinto. I know, that some people do, but not for me. He's not good enough going forward. He doesn't know the position well enough yet, which is not a surprise. He's a good stand-in, but I would have Ivo in if he was fit, personally. And Harrison did okay today, but maybe just at times, knowing the position and the positional sense of the position, I think some of his teammates got a little bit caught out with that at times. So yeah, all amicable really. I think Alec Neil, very much like the game at Carrow Road, a bit disappointed, probably felt it should have won. They probably should have won. They had the better chances and better weight of them, and that's probably them for their top 6 hopes. As I said, what happens there next year will be interesting. As for Norwich, we kind of know where they are. We know what we're going to get for the remaining games. I think Wes Hulan was on the bench today, but he didn't come on at all. I think we might have a big week coming up in terms of what happens ahead of Saturday and Wes Hulan, so we will see. Meanwhile, Alex Tettey was captain today, and if you're going to give someone the captain's armband at this point, you may be hoping that they'll still feel involved enough to maybe hang around. We will see. Lots still to play out for in terms of Norwich City and what happens between now and of course going into next season, when they'll hope there'll be some positivity around the place and some positive things to grab a hold of. And there were some today, admittedly, in a pretty wretched end of season game in many ways. So it will depend on your outlook. I appreciate that this sort of thing is not going to inspire anyone come next season, but then when you've got nothing to play for, it's pretty hard to be inspired anyway, isn't it? One final thought. We got to speak to Grant Hanley at the end of the game. He was on top form. I think he's really enjoying it around the place, and all you guys who love him and let him know that, it's sinking in, because he's really enjoying it and really feeling loved. And again, I think he's the kind of player that at least you look at Norwich in their summer ahead and you think, okay, you bring in players like that and you do the right business, maybe there can be a real step forward come next season, as as opposed to the sole transition we've seen this year. But there's a lot of unknowns, there's a lot of things we don't know how they're going to pan out. That's going to be part of the excitement between here and August. We've got Leeds next though, of course. Leeds at Carrow Road on Saturday. We'll be there and we'll see you there. Don't forget, all the latest Norwich City news, reaction and analysis, PinkUn.com.